Hello, and welcome to an intro to Anthro with two humans. I'm human number one, John McCray.
And I'm human number two, John Lehr.
And this is the podcast where we reassess what it means to be human. And the title of today's episode is One Man's Trip is Another Man's Fall. Tourism, Overtourism, and Anti-tourism.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to throw that last one in. I know that's been in the news a bit.
I know.
Yes. Excellent. If you heard a siren during our opening, I apologize. I've got the window open. It's hot as hell in my office here.
We're not doing it again.
No. God.
Once we go, we go.
People don't know how much goes into that opening. You and I did. That was what, our 15th take?
Yeah. I kept blowing my own name.
Human number one.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned this, John, that it's been in the news.
Yes.
Because I would say this topic has been yanked from today's headline, or this week's headlines. Ripped from today's headline. And just to give a little background on what we're going to be talking about, in the introduction to the book Hosts and Guests, the Anthropology of Tourism, Valene Smith says that in general, a tourist is a temporarily leisured person who voluntarily visits a place away from home for the purpose of experiencing a change.
Okay. Yeah. That's great.
So I would say, when I read that, I thought, at some point unless you never leave your house, at some point we're either a local or we're a tourist. And probably we switch off depending on where we are.
Right. Yes.
And in her book, The New Tourist, Paige McClanahan says that, quote, some people insist on a distinction between travelers and tourists.
Yes.
Where the former are explorer types who are unsatisfied with anything short of an authentic experience, while the latter are Philistines who are content with cliched mass marketing experiences.
I see. Well, Paige McClanahan there raising the bar.
I know. And McClanahan, she says that she finds the biggest difference between the terms is that we use traveler when referring to ourselves and people we know, and we use the term tourist is reserved for everyone else. Which is true. I think whenever you go someplace like Key West or Las Vegas and it's just jam-packed with people, and you complain about all the tourists, you're never included in that.
Right.
You're complaining about it.
Yeah.
And Nelson Graburn, in an essay titled Tourism, The Sacred Journey, says that tourism is a special form of play involving travel or getting away from it all, work and home, affording relaxation from tensions, and for some, the opportunity to temporarily become a non-entity removed from a ringing telephone.
Okay. I mean, I think that's the fantasy.
Yeah. And Graburn was writing, this book came out in 1989 before cell phones.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It is. I travel a lot, as you know, and I love being on a plane. Except I hate it now that they have the text thing. Did you know that? You can text on a plane.
No.
And like American, and I fly American a lot, and you can text now, which drives me crazy.
You mean from the ground up to people?
God. And I always got so much done on the plane. I still do. I get most of my work done on a plane. I'm that guy. That person hunched over their computer in 3C. That's me.
Do you get lots of texts? Are you sending texts when you're up there?
Well, somebody will text and you'll text back and then you're fucked. Then you're like caught in a text thing. And I don't know. I like the excuse of not being reachable for a few hours. Right, it's just really nice.
That's the way I don't, when I'm on a plane, I don't like to talk to the people next to me. I don't want to know what's going on the ground. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not. I never talk to people next to me. I don't want that. No.
I put my headphones on and that's it. And then Graburn notes that proper travel, is what he's saying, is voluntary, which makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, it's got to be. If not, it's more like an abduction, I think.
Yeah, or work. Like, I guess he's saying like it can't be a work trip.
Right. He says it does not involve routine work, and therefore it's good for you.
Yeah.
And he says that the very word vacation comes from the Latin vacare, to leave one's house empty. And emphasizes the fact that we cannot properly vacation at home.
So a staycation's impossible, is what he's saying.
Right.
I think that's actually true now with, phones and everything. Like, I think there was a time when you could kind of be like, you know what? I'm just staying home for a few days. And,
take off
chill.
Work for a few days.
Yeah, I think that's kind of over.
Yeah, but that he's making the point that you have to go somewhere else for a proper vacation, which I kind of like.
I think that's true. I think that's true. Yeah, you can.
And John, you and I have both live or have lived in locations that are very popular tourist destinations.
Yes.
For example, you live in Hollywood.
Yes. I'm in a neighborhood just east of Hollywood called Los Feliz. Right. And the two neighborhoods, so I'm in Hollywood quite a bit, I know, and boy, do we see a ton of tourists. And you can spot them like no problem. No problem,
Do you have because you're like ground zero. You're in between Griffith Park and Hollywood Boulevard, right?
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of people getting surprised about how skanky the Walk of Fame is in our neighborhood.
How do you is that actually bestowed upon somebody, or they just say, if you want this, you can pay to have your own?
You can't be a nobody, but you have to purchase it.
Really?
It's so it's a little bit of both.
Have you looked into it?
They can veto. No, I've never looked into it.
That came right off the tip of your tongue. It seemed like you knew that information immediately.
No, but I don't know how I know that, but it's kind of a bit of a way to just get money for the city. I don't know. It's kind of a cabal that's run. I don't know much about it, but I think it's kind of it's inside and it's expensive.
It's always funny when you walk down there, and you'll see people from back in the 20s and 30s who were big, like Adolphe Menjou or something. Right. You know what I mean? Somebody who's like really popular back then, and now you have no idea.
No idea. And that's what's going to happen to every single one of them and every single one of us.
I know.
We're here and we go, and that's it. That's it.
The big. Sure, the big trip of life, just journey through life. So.
Yep, there's a big neon sign, tequila advertisement in Hollywood that says "famous fleeting."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and it is.
But you're close enough. If you wanted to, you could paint yourself silver and run down there to Hollywood Boulevard and make some extra bucks, right?
Easy. Anybody who's been to Hollywood Boulevard knows that it's populated with a bunch of I don't know, people. I don't know how to describe them. Very idiosyncratic, mentally ill, perhaps. People who put on costumes and try to get you to pay them $5 to take a picture with them. So, and the costumes it's filthy, Hollywood Boulevard is just filthy, and they're dirty, and so like there's a skanky Spider-Man that's been there forever who at first it's like, oh, Spider-Man, and then as he gets closer and starts talking to you, you're like, oh, your antenna goes up.
That's not Tobey Maguire.
Nobody's hiring this guy. He just went out and bought a suit and showed up.
The studio's not sending them out as part of their marketing budget.
No, there's no rhyme or reason.
We should try that sometime. Just see how much money we can make.
Yeah.
And then you and I both lived in Venice Beach for a long time.
Beach, yeah. Yep.
Another tourist, popular.
Very touristy.
And I lived in Santa Fe and worked at the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum.
Yes. And we both lived in Chicago, which is a destination not as big as those, but there are tourists who come to Chicago.
Oh yeah, down along like Michigan Avenue, and like Second City, all those places like
the lake.
Yeah, along the lake.
I was just there. Just got back yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
How is Chicago? How's my lady?
Amazing. She was asking about you. Amazing. A huge lightning thunderstorm the first night I was there, and then breezy and non-humid the whole time. And then when I was leaving, the true Chicago lady showed up, and it got sticky and hot. But there was the whole trip, it was just perfect. Just perfect.
That's great. Yeah. You never know. I mean, it's far enough north. It can be lovely, or it can be. I always lived near the lake too, so I always had a breeze coming in there.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember before they redid when we lived in Chicago, Navy Pier. They hadn't redone it yet because Navy Pier now is like.
Now it's a whole big, huge thing. I haven't been out there, but it's massive. Whatever's going on out there.
I remember seeing guys in the middle of winter fishing through the little drainage holes in Navy Pier. So there'd just be a bunch of guys out there with fishing poles sitting on benches or on stools out in the middle. It would look like a parking lot. And they'd be fishing and pulling out little smelts or whatever through the drainage holes.
Oh. I wouldn't eat that. No, sir.
That was such a great image of like if you looked across, looks like a big parking lot,
two guys,
asphalt, and then.
But that's like when you're in Venice and you see people getting in the water. It's like I don't know. I wouldn't do it.
I think I only went.
People who live in Venice rarely go in the water.
Oh yeah. Especially after a rainstorm. Ooh,
never after a rainstorm. God knows a human head will float up next to you.
But John, all of this talk about tourism also got me thinking about, as you know, I worked for the Italian Tourist Board.
Yes, I do.
In Chicago for many years, for 9 years, like over 9 years. And this was before the internet and before you could just Google hotels. Or flights or, suggestions for your trip. And if you wanted to plan a trip to another country, anywhere, really, you had to buy a guidebook.
Right.
Or go to a travel agent.
Mm-hmm.
Or you would contact the tourist office of wherever you wanted to go.
Yes.
And then you would ask them to send you out some brochures or like have some suggestions on where you should go, some maps, tourist maps and things like that. And so the job of the Italian Tourist Board at that time consisted of answering questions on the phone and sending out brochures to tourists and travel agents and providing press releases for journalists, travel journalists, and they'd contact us if they wanted photographs about Italy. And usually the photographs were all from back in the 50s. So I'd have to send them these photographs. It looked like right after the war,
And that was before you could scan them and add color or whatever. Yeah.
You'd have to send them out to them. And then when they were done with them, they'd send them back. But we also, the Italian Tourist Board, and every major country had a tourist office. And but definitely in New York, but a lot of them had them in Chicago as well. But we would do trade shows and travel fairs where we'd fly around and answer questions about traveling.
I remember this is bringing back memories because we were living together at the time.
Right.
In Evanston at the beginning when you first got the job there.
Yeah.
Oh, and we had the worst, hottest.
Speaking
Chicago
of
summer.
Yeah.
Oh, we were on the third floor, no air conditioning. I was cooking in a restaurant. Oh my God. We all just turned the shower on, literally. Just turned the shower on and sat in the bathtub and drank.
It was awful.
It was
nothing. Would you wake up already drenched in sweat because the sun would be coming up over Lake Michigan?
God.
And like before you even, the first thing you realize as you're coming out of sleep is like, God damn, it's hot. I'm just already drenched. I'm already drenched. And anyway, the goal of our office, or all these tourist offices, was to increase tourism.
Yes.
To Italy or to wherever the destination was.
That's right.
And it was hard to, it was this kind of vague, nebulous, because you can't just get immediate data, or at that time you couldn't get immediate data on how successful you were. You'd have to wait a few years to see if, tourist arrivals.
The numbers the government released were up or down, and if they were up, you guys patted yourselves on the back, and if they were down, there was panic. Somebody got laid off or something.
Right. It was a fantastic job. I loved it.
I know. Those were happy years when you were doing that job, and we were doing crazy theater in Chicago.
Yeah, fantastic. And one year, my boss, the Italian travel commissioner, paid for the tourist board to have a booth at the Chicago Marathon.
Okay.
And you have to ask, like, why the Chicago Marathon? I don't know. I think he thought that there would be a lot of runners.
Yeah, you could just hand them trifold pamphlets as they run by.
Like, come see. I had to scrounge around.
Come to Italy for the tourism. Come to Italy for the tourism. Come to Italy for the tourism.
Yeah. And it was. I had to scrounge around to try to find something that kind of a brochure that kind of pertained to running. Because I was supposed to work this trade fair.
Right.
At the Chicago Marathon. It was like three days of like full on before the marathon was actually run. And most of the time it would, all the other booths were like people from like power bars or energy drinks.
Nike. Right. Things that pertain to marathoners.
Right. And then as the runners, after they registered, they'd be coming through the trade fair. They'd be coming down the aisle, and after you saw all this stuff about like track suits and shoes, and you'd see a guy in a suit sitting there with a bunch of brochures about Italy, And so they'd always get like they get like this weird look on their face of like trying to make sense of it, like what Italy, what?
Trade fairs are weird because if you walk by a booth that nobody's at. Yeah, you definitely don't stop. It's awkward because they're looking at you like, hi. And you know what I mean? Every trade fair is like that. Every convention.
Yeah. And what was ironic about it was it wasn't just me. The only other person that was more awkward than me was Tom Wopat. Luke Duke from TV's Luke Duke was there working the Rogaine booth.
Oh,
remember when he was the Rogaine spokesperson?
Oh my God. Wow. And he's just sitting there going, what happened?
Yeah.
How am I here? What the hell? And he and I marathon convention.
He and I were in the same row. He was like a couple booths down from me. So we would see each other every morning. We'd arrive.
Right. Because it's a week-long event usually, or a few days at least.
Right. And it was the same thing with him of like, first of all, it was weird that it wasn't just like Tom Wopat, TV's Luke Duke showing up to sign, like somebody else was working the booth. They had Tom Wopat in there working the booth. You know what I mean? All day long. And he and I we'd look at each other and kind of nod for a while. And then it got awkward. You know what I mean? Like after a while, you could only like look at each other and shrug and nod so much. But nobody was, again, if you're in a room full of a bunch of fit people, nobody's going to stop and talk about their hair loss in front of a bunch of strangers. No. You know what I mean?
No.
Like
did they recognize it was him? Were there fans at all that came up to him or anything? Because that show was, I mean...
my brother David came down there and got really excited when he saw Tom Wopat and went over and talked to him.
Your brother. God damn. The world is a less fun place without
I know.
It really is.
He really went over there. He and Tom Wopat were talking for a long time.
I bet he scared the hell out of Tom.
Yeah. If Tom Wopat didn't think of like what the hell happened.
David had an edge to him that you were just like at first, and he's laughing and he's funny as hell. And you're like, wait a minute, there's something. If I say the wrong thing, this guy might stab me.
Yeah. And I'm sure people that probably even came up and asked Tom Wopat, like, hey, when's Tom Wopat showing up?
God. Oh, Jesus.
But that was awkward. And then also, every year we would do the big travel show at McCormick Place.
Whoa.
And, McCormick Place is huge, right?
That's along a convention center. That's massive.
Right. And that trade show was big enough, travel trade show was big enough that people would fly in from Italy. Like all the big wigs from Italy would come in.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And there at that show, all the tourist boards didn't have just booze. They had pavilions, enormous pavilions. You know what I mean?
Where you'd serve like a cappuccino or something. Or...
right. They were big. They were like real deals, Right. And every year it'd be like everybody be looking at, oh my God, did you see what Ireland did this year? Did you see what Britain? We'd all be like, it was like a popularity contest. You know what I mean?
That's
yeah. And I'll tell you who the country was that always blew it out of the park. Always was amazing.
Finland. Okay, Finland.
No. Okay. Good guess. Good guess.
Switzerland.
Another good guess.
They don't have any showmanship. I'm trying to think. Showmanship. The French.
Always a good one. Always a good pavilion.
But not the one you're thinking of. Not Iceland.
They were like us. They always did something very standard, like a fiberglass, plexiglass.
Mozambique.
Close.
Really? Ethiopia.
Well, it was Dubai.
Of course.
And at that time, nobody knew where or who Dubai was. This was back in the 90s.
Right.
And Dubai, every year at that time period, would like I say, all the rest of us were using old scraps of, carpets and everything for our pavilions. Dubai would be like inlaid teak wood flooring, a carved, like actual full-size bar.
Whoa.
Where they were serving hot tea and they'd have like running fountains.
Jesus. They had to get a garden hose. They had to connect a hose to that and run it down through the innards of the convention center. Right.
And they would. Dubai would spend the money, and everybody that worked in there, they were beautiful. They looked like models.
Wow.
And all of us would just be from all the other European locations where we'd see Dubai's pavilion, we just hang our
mouth. Yeah. Once again, they beat you. And this is before they were making islands and stuff. This is early days.
Right. So that shows you how important this stuff really was, because now everybody knows Dubai. People want to go to
Vegas
Dubai.
It's the global Las Vegas.
Right. But at that time, people, they'd be like, where's Dubai? I don't know. But did you see their pavilion? It's like amazing. It's real wood. They're using real wood.
Incredible. Teak wood, real wood.
Yeah, like amazing. Inlaid. Like they'd have like craftsmen come in and like put together their pavilion.
I went to a wedding like that at the Four Seasons where they spent so much money, and they had put in a wooden floor. This is just before you go in for the actual reception. There's a pre-reception, a cocktail hour, if you will. And at the cocktail hour, it was massive. This whole huge thing full of seafood and all this stuff. And they had tins of caviar, high-end caviar, like the tins that are big ones, the size of a plate, full of
just.
And people would take a little, and everybody went into the reception, and there were like me and two other people who were into caviar, like holding these huge tins with like it smeared all over our face, laughing.
It's like just eating pudding cups.
They were like $20,000 tins, and I was just holding one and just scooping it out like pudding. It was delicious. God, salad days.
Oh yeah, that's great. But the point I'm trying to make, John, is in this time period, the 1980s, 1990s, when I was working in the tourism business, you never heard the words over-tourism, and you never heard the words anti-tourism.
Or eco-tourism, probably either.
Right. At that time, you didn't. No, not really. People be like, what? You don't want to go see museums?
No, I want to sit on a lawn chair by a swimming pool.
And, you know, during the first Gulf War from 1990 to 1991, tourism to Europe just plummeted. It basically stopped during that period. And so there was a real desire, a real need at that time when the war ended in 1991 to try to get people traveling again. And it seems like, you know, you can tell how well the world is doing by how many people are traveling. So if there's a terrorist attack somewhere, usually if people are afraid of terrorism, they won't travel.
Right.
If the economy's really bad, not just people saying it's bad, but if it's really bad, people won't travel because they can't. They don't have the money.
Right.
And so you can I always say you can tell the real state, take a pulse of the world, how it's doing by looking at how many people are traveling.
Yeah, because, I love that. I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah. And you could do it by looking at the crowd size. And so, like I said, at that time, we never talked about over-tourism. We were always trying to get more tourists to come. And so, in fact, I would say that most destinations, if you said over-tourism at that time, they'd be like, well, yeah, that's a problem we'd like to have, you know, or like we deal with that when we get there.
Right.
And the thing is, we've gotten there. we've gotten there now. Because like you mentioned, this summer, I've been reading over and over again about tourist destinations that were limiting the number of visitors to their locations due to over-tourism.
Over-tourism.
Right. And for example, in an article for the travel.com website, which came out just a few weeks ago, Quinter Auma lists 7 popular destinations that have limited visitors. And they include Venice, Italy, the Canary Islands in Spain, Glacier National Park in Montana, Athens, Greece, Okinawa, Japan, and Maya Bay in Thailand. And I'm not sure, did you see the movie The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio?
I did not.
Yeah. The irony about Maya Beach in Thailand is it's where they filmed The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. And the movie's all about some hippies who are trying to keep this beach pristine and away from everybody. They want to keep it secret.
Right. It was kind of his entree into the environmental scene.
Right.
That's where he kind of started his.
Right.
Yes, I remember that.
And so what happened after that movie, which was about trying to keep this beach pristine, came out, just hundreds of thousands of tourists from all over the world went to Thailand trying to find this beach. And they basically just trashed it.
Wow. That's so God. What is wrong with us?
I know. And so Paige McClanahan in her book, again, The New Tourist, says...
You got to love an author named Paige. You know what I mean? It's so perfect.
I know. It should be like Paige Booker.
Yeah, Paige Booker. Like I'd love to if somebody were named Index, you know.
Tom Index. Index Tome Index. That'd be the guy's name.
Chapter Johnson.
Appendix. No, wait, is an appendix one? No.
Yeah.
So anyway, but she says in her book, quote, that waking up, the new tourist waking up to the power and perils of travel, she says, after the movie's release, the site chosen for the filming, Maya Bay on the Thai island of Phi Phi, became so inundated with visitors and their trash that Thai authorities eventually shut off access to the beach entirely to allow the ecosystem to recover.
Wow.
After nearly 4 years of closure, Maya Bay reopened in 2022, but under strict protocols. Swimming is allowed only in designated areas, tourist numbers are capped, and visitors are limited to the time slots they reserve in advance.
Oh, man.
But
well, you got to do what you got to do. You can't get to the Hollywood sign anymore because people used to jump off them and kill themselves, or they would spray paint it, or all kinds of stuff. You can't get there. People all the time in my neighborhood are coming up to me with a camera, or a phone, saying, "Hey, God, where can I?" And you know it as they're walking up to you. They're looking for the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
Like, nope, there it is. That's as close as you can get. Do you really need to touch it? It's just plywood painted white.
Did you, when you first moved into that area, were you able to go up to it? Have you been up to it?
You can hike up close to it, and you used to get a lot closer, but people live up there. Their houses up there. Yeah. They don't want people traipsing through their backyards.
I always remember in that area, it was always surrounded by a chain link fence or something. It seemed like you couldn't get that close to it.
Yeah, they've got barbed wire now. You can't even get close enough to the barbed wire unless you...
Really?
Yeah, they make it hard now.
I have to admit, when I was researching this week's episode and I was going through all the photographs of all these tourist locations, the number, I thought, well, maybe it's just, a little overcrowded, but we're talking about throngs of people.
Wow. So it's real. Over-tourism is a real thing.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. And it's just massive amounts of people. Like I saw photos of Venice, Italy. And remember back in 30 years ago, we were hosting people from Venice coming over, trying to get people to go to Venice.
Right.
The Veneto region.
They're like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
How do you do with crowds? Are you good with?
Yeah, I don't mind. Because I love people watching. Like my favorite place on the planet is the airport at Las Vegas. I am so happy there. Everybody, layover in Vegas, fuck. I'm like, yes, bring it. Because I just love the losers leaving and the people thinking they're going to win coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. And the dancers and the musicians. It's great. It's just great. I just love it.
I've always considered, I have a strange reaction to Las Vegas, Nevada, not Las Vegas, New Mexico, the original Las Vegas.
Right.
But I've always felt it's like the closest thing to Westworld I've ever experienced.
Yes.
And that you can go there and have a great time. You're in a mass of swirling people.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like a log on this, this river of people.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And you can have a wonderful time with your own little group.
Right.
You get good service. Everybody's friendly to you.
Yep.
And you get home, you realize I didn't have a real conversation with anybody there the entire time I was in Las Vegas.
It's so true. It's about disengaging,
Yeah.
Gambling is like alcohol. It's a way to, shut down.
Right.
Escape.
And I think, and I always wondered, like, the people could have just been robots to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, they will be soon. That's coming. That's coming. And I'm like, bring it. Soon, we won't even have to leave our houses to take a vacation.
Yeah.
We'll just be put into a coma and broadcast into a simulation, and it's going to be awesome.
You wake up, they show you the photos about everything that you did.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I used to get really sad and depressed in Las Vegas. When I'd be there, I'd bottom out. I'd be like, oh my God, this is awful. This is
if
helpful.
You stay, on the third day, it's always a coin toss as to whether the third day is going to be a good day or a bad day. But you can have 2 good days there, no problem.
Yeah.
But after that, get out.
We started, Mary has a very good friend who has lived there forever as a dancer and singer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we started going there, and when we go visit her, she doesn't live, she lives outside the strip, but she always works on the strip.
Yeah.
And so I started to see like more like a human side of Las Vegas, of the actors and the performers, and everybody knows each other, and they all know who's working at what what venue and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's helped me. Like when I go there and because now it seems like any other entertainment town, like Chicago.
Right. You see, you got a bigger look at it. You weren't on the log floating around in the whirlpool. You were on a log floating on the whirlpool that's outside that whirlpool.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So it makes it, and then we always try to get outside of Las Vegas for like an afternoon and go up into the mountains or something like that.
Gorgeous. Just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'll be driving there soon. I'm heading to Albuquerque. I'm coming your way, partner. Human number one.
Oh no, human number two is coming. He wants food or money. That's what that guy always wants.
Can't wait to see him in person.
But anyway, in the July 25th, 2024 article, so that's like last week, 4 days ago, titled
God,
The Impact.
You are on it. Look at this. Just a couple of days ago. Jesus.
Turning this shit around.
Yeah, you're amazing. You're amazing.
It's July 25th, The Impact of Overtourism on Local Communities and Ecosystems. Ashley Nault states that the term overtourism is relatively new, which is what kind of piqued my interest in there, because I was like saying, I never heard this term ever before.
Right.
And she says it's been coined over a decade ago to highlight the spiraling numbers of visitors taking a toll on cities, landmarks, and landscapes.
Interesting.
And she quotes Justin Francis, who's the co-founder and CEO of Responsible Travel, who says that social media has concentrated tourism in hotspots and exacerbated the problem. The tourist numbers globally are increasing while destinations have a finite capacity.
Right. People aren't traveling to Bratislava.
Right.
But I am. I'm going there in the fall.
No, go ahead. Plug your show.
I'll be touring with Susan Messing.
Yeah.
Our European comedy tour starting in October.
I can't wait. If anybody's in
Bulgaria,
Central Europe,
we're going to Bulgaria, Bratislava, the UK, Birmingham, and then to Vienna, which is kind of our hub there. Isn't that crazy?
You have to send us photos.
I will. I will be in touch. Bratislava, they called and said, "Hey, you're coming from Vienna for that leg. The easiest way is taking a riverboat up the Danube River."
Really?
And they were like, "We're so sorry." And I'm like, "Sorry? Are you kidding me?"
Really?
I just finished a podcast on the Ottoman Empire. Let's do it.
This is like a fantasy vacation.
Oh, God. I'm going to be imagining, spikes with Vlad the Impaler's heads on them.
So you guys will take one of those river barges.
It's like a
overnight river barge, or
I don't think it's overnight either. It's not. Yeah. It's like a day, but it's supposed to be nice, and you just tool up the river.
Do you have gear? You don't travel with gear. You guys don't have what
do you mean gear?
Like speakers and microphones in there.
No. We have toothbrushes. I always bring my microphone, as you know. That's true.
Yeah,
I bring my microphone, so I have that.
Again, Paige McClanahan, in her book, she quotes Donald Ledbetter, who's the tourism program manager at the U.S. National Park Service, who says that visitation increases are really concentrated at some of your marquee, most famous parks. It's a self-reinforcing cycle where the places that are most well-known and most visited get repeatedly displayed on advertising and social media.
Yeah.
And they just get this momentum that's unstoppable.
Yeah. I get that. You see it. We gotta go see the, and I while I do like being in crowds, it's really people watching in their natural habitat. So for instance, my family went to go see the sequoias in the Sequoia National Park, which is just, it's like Disneyland. You're just in a long, everybody bumper to bumper traffic. It's hell. I mean, but the trees are fucking incredible. Amazing. But it's everything else about it is just horrid. Just horrid. For what? To see this tree? It's like people who go to the top of Mount Everest because it's there. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go.
That's
over
another
here.
one where now it's like anybody. I read a lot about where anybody can pay, and there's a tour guide that will take you up to the top of Mount Everest, whether you're qualified to go up to the top.
It's a yes. That is
not.
Yeah. They'll just duct tape you to a Sherpa, and they'll get you up there.
And you'll get once you get up there, you only get like 10 seconds to take a photograph or something.
Is that
and then
true?
Yeah,
10 seconds.
Because there's hundreds of other people who are waiting to get up there.
Jesus
to get their photograph on the top of the world.
Miserable.
Yeah. And then, that's the problem where everybody, they're low on oxygen. They're not moving fast. The weather's turning bad.
People die up there.
Right. Right.
Soon we'll all be going to space.
Yeah.
Put them on.
If you like Mount Everest, just wait till you're out on the middle of space.
Yeah.
Trying to control your oxygen. And McClanahan, she notes an article in Elle magazine that was titled 30 Places to Instagram in 2023.
Oh, boy.
And she mentions all of these other articles in different, publications where they're telling you where to go and just get like a good selfie, basically.
Right.
Yeah. And I get it because it's, there's a reason why these sites are iconic. And people want to see them, like you say. And like, if you travel all the way around, I used to love going out. I go out to the Grand Canyon like 2 or 3 times a year, usually off season, to where I could get off by myself. And the last time I was out there, it was just packed. Wow. Even for me.
Wow.
And, but the thing is, if you travel all the way around the world, you want to see the Grand Canyon. You don't want to go see the OK Canyon. You know what I mean? It's like you want to see the Grand Canyon. That's why people go there.
Yeah.
And I also find it's funny that whenever you're in those locations, and sometimes people will be like, well, I don't want to look like a tourist. You know what I mean? It's like,
if you're wearing shorts in LA in the winter, we all know.
Yeah, I'd be like in Venice. I'd be out there in like my winter coat, in February, and there'd be guys out there like splashing around in the water in their bathing suits.
From Cleveland, we're going to enjoy.
Yeah. And the other place, Key West. I think I was in Key West years ago for a wedding around.
Didn't you get a ticket? A speeding ticket?
Yeah.
And it was my brother's fault, I think, or something.
No,
like that.
No. Well, I rode down there with your brother.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to, and then I rented a car down there, and we were trying to get out. And Key West is just jam-packed full of people all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And you had to get to a plane or something?
Yeah, well, it was New Year's Day, early morning New Year's Day, coming down that highway that goes along all the Keys.
Yeah.
It's flat. You could see forever. All the drunks were still asleep. So we were coming down that highway, just flying, because it was the only time that, getting down there was like bumper to bumper, 50 miles an hour.
Give you a ticket on New Year's Day.
Yeah. He saw me but so far away, and I just knew it. I was like, that guy's going to get a ticket.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you're the only one out here. It's like,
yeah, dude.
Only one sober in
give me a
500
break.
Square miles. But going back to Nault says that overcrowding is an issue for both locals and tourists. It can ruin the experience of sightseeing for those trapped in long queues, unable to visit museums, galleries, and sites without advance booking, incurring escalating costs for basics like food, drink, and hotels, and faced with the inability to experience the wonder of a place in relative solitude.
We're just hoping that something outside of ourselves will give our life meaning. And and I get it, man. I'm right there with you, but yeah. It's just like every person I know who retires, what are you going to do? We're going to travel.
Yeah. And that's what they're doing. They're all traveling around to the same places. They're all traveling around to the same places.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of whenever you go see the Mona Lisa at the Louvre, and it's just like 500 people, like 30 people deep, all with their phones above their heads.
It's so weird.
Trying to get a photo of it to say that they've seen it,
because it's a huge museum, and you're like walking around and you're enjoying something, and you hear like a commotion, and you're like, what's going on? It's like the same sound it makes when a celebrity walks in the door, like it's all these people talking together.
You can just feel it. It's like the energy just comes. The
energy.
But I mean, it's not like, I wonder what you would say. It's not like you could sit there and stare at the Mona Lisa for a long time and contemplate the brushstrokes or whatever.
No.
And apparently in places like Venice, Italy, like I mentioned, and Orkney, Scotland, they've started limiting the number of cruise ships that dock at their ports.
Yes, Alaska's doing some of that too. Yes.
Have you ever taken a cruise?
Never.
Have you ever? Yeah.
No. Cruise ships, though, are nasty from what I understand. Like, they drop all their poop and stuff when they get in there, and garbage. They're just these gross, supposedly, these gross things. And unless one advertises on our show, and then I'm changing my tune.
But yeah, like when the power goes out, you're still on a ship out in the middle of the ocean.
Anything can happen.
Right. And
would you do it? Would you do a cruise if somebody said, "Here's 2 free tickets"?
You know what everyone always says to me, like, "Oh, cruises, they're so wonderful. You can eat 24 hours a day."
Right.
Which
and drink. That's the thing. Everybody's just wasted.
I know.
Wasted. Because what do you do? All right, I've gone down the water slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw all the shows.
I don't want to gamble. I'm not really that into
crab legs out my ass. I can't go to my room because it's too small.
I get sick if I'm not looking out the porthole at the horizon.
I'm gonna drink hard.
I don't know. I don't think I would enjoy it at all. Although after when we mentioned the 80s and then the nostalgia episode, and we mentioned the 80s ultimate 80s cruise, Mary was like, "I want to go on it." So I may be going on a cruise.
So you may go, but if you're with Mary, you'll have a blast.
Do you know? And then when you see cruises, like they pull up the cruise ships pull up to Venice, Italy, they're like 3 times higher than any of the St. Mark's Tower.
Massive. They're like skyscrapers on their sides.
Yeah,
they're massive.
It's like another city pulling up to your city.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't go in their city.
I know. But their city is it's pulled up and it's piled out into your city to like just look around.
It's a giant Trojan horse.
And then pretty soon their city, after they like eat all your food and everything, they'll back up and take off somewhere to go destroy some other city or island. But places like Venice, Italy, what they've started doing is they're charging a daily entrance fee to get into Venice, the city itself.
So it's like a Disneyland. It's like Disneyland.
Well, that's what the locals are saying. The locals are like, "You've just made us a theme park."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is put our outfits on.
Right.
But do they think it'll slow it down, or what's the idea of the admission? Is it like, "Hey man, there's so many people, we need more money to clean up after you and keep..."
I think it's part of that, but I think the way the city officials kind of threw it out there was that it was a way that it would dissuade some people from coming into the town. But it's only €5, which is like $10. You know what I mean? So
if you're all the way there, like, give me $10 here.
I know, that's what I thought. Like, you got to make it like $1,000 or something if you want people to like stop coming. Like, Like people that just pay, they like the Grand Canyon. Like you've already come that far, you'll pay all whatever it is.
You know? Oh, it's $5. Nope, turn around, kids.
But that's what you brought up a good point. Is people are saying, what the locals are saying. Well, wait a second. If they're paying to get in here, they're going to treat us like we're like theme park employees. It's you know what I mean?
Hey, kids.
Yeah.
Welcome to Venice.
I agree. It's like if people pay money to get in somewhere, they suddenly think that they need to be given something in return. You know what I mean? And it's anybody that's worked at a museum or a theater show or something. Would people have paid money and they go to a concert and they get in there?
You're right.
Yeah, they should be able to get away with anything.
That's right. I paid for it.
Right. I paid my $10 to get in. It's kind of like when you go to Subway. And, like, first of all, like a Subway, it's just somebody making you a sandwich for like a minute and a half or something. Yes. They're not your personal valet.
Yeah.
For that time period. Like people are always like, hey, can you take that on? Not that much. Put some more on. Oh, no.
More.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. It's always the sauces that hold up the line, too. They've got too many sauces.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back to just mustard and ketchup. That's all we need, people. It's a Subway. It's a submarine sandwich.
And just let them. I mean, they're not making that much money. It's their
Chipotle. You have oregano? No. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like they're not working for you. They're not your personal chopper. Just have them throw some bologna on there and get going. You know what I mean? And I don't know what would be worse for people living in a town like that. Worse to be treated like a peasant when tourists come in, or be treated like an employee.
Yeah,
you know what I mean when you come in there.
Yeah.
But just to give you an idea of the numbers of people we're talking here, there was an article by a guy named Jockims. Where is that? But he was quoting that there are 50,000 people living in the historical center of Venice. So 50,000 locals.
Okay.
Which is approximately 2 square miles. Okay, that's a lot of people in 2 square miles to begin with. And last year they had 20 million visitors.
Jesus.
So Jesus. There are now more tourist beds in Venice than residents.
But listen, €5 per person, right?
Yeah.
That's what, 10 million? 100 million?
A year?
Oh my, each person in that place could get their cut. Listen, I would play the part of a hardware store owner in Venice.
Maybe that's or
a bus driver for that kind of money. If they don't like it, I'll come in there and draw a mustache on me. I'll fake an Italian accent. That's big money.
We should send them our resumes.
Yeah, people will be auditioning to live in Venice.
Then the locals don't even have to deal with them. You just have a bunch of people that you're paying.
They'll all be in, somewhere else, Dubai, having a great time.
John, it reminds me of when we lived in that house right off the canals.
Yeah.
And the path up to the beach went right by the kitchen window and the living room window.
Yes.
And during the summer, it was a continuous flow of people up and down that path.
Yes. Continuous.
And every single person that passed by our living room and kitchen would look in there.
Yes, because they're curious, they're bored, so they'd look in at us. There's real people in Venice.
Yeah, you make eye contact there. You couldn't, it was horrible. And you didn't want to pull down there because then the room was too dark.
Right. And there were two windows. I mean, that place was like Window City. You'd be walking around in your boxer shorts and some family of 6 is staring in at you.
Just nonstop.
About that.
Yeah. But just imagine being in Venice. That must be what it's like in Venice. It's just like you're in your house. Like you grew up in Venice. You're in your parents' house, your mom's
Charge
house.
the $5 and give it to the thing. I just think now I see it. I didn't realize the numbers were that big, but $100 million a year they're going to take in and spend that, split that with 50,000 people. Jesus, I'm in.
The other thing is Airbnbs. Like Airbnbs are driving up rents for people, local people in these locations.
Yeah. Yep.
And so what they've started doing and this is from an article of June of this year from the Daily Mail, Emily Cooper says that Barcelona, Spain will ban Airbnb apartments in a desperate bid to stop rent spiraling and protect locals from the effects of mass tourism.
But again, just charge them money.
Yeah. Well, Cooper says that rental prices in Barcelona have increased by around 70% in the last decade.
That's like LA.
Yeah. Well, I think the same thing is happening in LA of like, instead of selling houses or renting out houses affordably, the landlords just realized it was easier to just rent it out as an Airbnb.
Yeah, and it's true. I have a neighbor right across the street who every weekend it's a different party. Oh, man.
I knew somebody in Santa Monica who, after they got divorced, she got the house, but what she did was she just rented it out as Airbnb, and then she just couch dive on all of her friends' places.
Genius.
And that became like her job.
Her passive income. Yep. Yep. Smart lady.
Yeah. And I always have mixed feelings about Airbnb because there's a part of me that loves having my own house and not being in a hotel.
Yes.
But I'm also completely aware of what happens to the local economy and people who are living in those areas or grew up in those areas.
Also, now it's become an Airbnb is like an Airbnb. It's like a hotel room. Like they've obviously, like your friend, she probably just decked it out with the cheapest furniture. Like they all kind of look the same now. Because I travel a lot, and I know a hotel. If I had a black light, I would see white smudges everywhere, glow in the dark smudges.
Yeah,
and every horrible things have happened in every single hotel room. But I don't know. I like it. There's something honest about it.
About the hotel?
Yeah.
Me too.
You know, there's something on. Whereas when you're it's like pretending that it's homey. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
What drives me crazy is when they go out to like Home Goods store and just buy some of those signs that say like
peace,
coffee.
Whatever it was. Blessings.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy.
There's a bunch of cheap crap that they put up on the wall.
Banged it all up. Put it over there. Put one there, and put one there.
Yeah. Wait for the money to start rolling in. We stayed at. I think it's the same way in Manhattan, right? They're not supposed to have Airbnbs.
Oh, is that true? I don't know.
I think so.
I don't think I've stayed in it. I've been to Manhattan a few times, and I think we've always stayed in hotels.
Yeah, but we stayed in one, and the guy that on the Airbnb, he told us, first of all, when you get out of your cab, don't act like you don't know where you're going. He was like, don't linger out on the street. Come immediately in. Have the key ready.
Acting notes.
Yeah. He goes, don't talk to anybody in the hallways, you know. And when you leave, go down.
I love NY shirt when you're coming in and out.
Yeah. And it was it was uneasy. You know what I mean? Like every little bump outside in the hallway. Oh my God. It was like we were hiding from the secret police or something. You know, like we did. Like, let's get out of here, but don't stop. When we come out, just keep walking.
Go. Be cool. She's looking at us. Don't look.
Yeah.
But she's looking at us. She's looking at us.
Hey, they didn't pick up the trash again this week. Huh?
Hey, Mrs. Wilson, it's Anderson. I'm Jacques' cousin visiting.
Yeah.
from Paris.
It was awful. It was really,
that's funny.
Like I said, it was uneasy being in there.
You know what? No matter how inconvenient New York City is, no matter how I love that town.
Me too.
God.
Me too.
I just love it. I was there just a week or so ago, and it was humid as hell. Humid. No breeze, because all the buildings block the breeze. None. So everybody's just walking around, just sweating. You don't even bother showering. And I went in to get a drink from a woman in a bodega or something, and she was like, "Yeah, so where are you from?" I said, "LA," and she's like, "Oh," she was expecting me to brag about my weather, and I said, "You know what? New York City like this is still the best city in the world," and she just lit up. I'm like, "Yeah, I love LA. Don't get me wrong, but God damn, New York City is amazing."
We were doing a show there one time in June. And that was fantastic. I think we were back for like a showcase or something with the lectures.
Me? Oh, right. Right. I remember that. Oh,
and we were right along the Hudson River and just beautiful. Just beautiful. That time of year.
We were staying in a beautiful apartment because it was our friend's apartment in Tribeca. Right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
David and Anya's.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That place was insane.
Yeah. So anyway, getting back to what some locals have started doing, and this is what's been in the news this summer, is they've started protesting against tourists.
Okay.
And which has led to anti-tourism.
Oh boy.
Okay. and anti-tourism activists have started taking direct action against tourists.
Jesus.
And so in a July 21st, 2024, just last week, article called Thousands Protest in Spain's Mallorca Against Mass Tourism, Horaci Garcia says that carrying makeshift models of planes and cruise ships, protesters walked through the streets of the capital of Mallorca with posters reading, "No to mass tourism" and "Stop private jets."
Whoa. Well, guess where I'm not ever going?
I know.
Mallorca. I'm listening, Mallorca.
Yeah.
That's, it works for me. I'm not going there.
And
I don't travel. Listen, if I've got time off, I'm sitting on my butt in my underwear in my house. That's my vacation.
Mallorca is one of those places where like Northern Europeans go down there just to go crazy. You know what I mean? It's like their spring break down there.
Oh, God. It's like, like those cities in Florida that complain. Pompano Beach and all those places.
And so the article quotes Pere Juan Femenia, who is one of the organizers of the demonstration, who said that the protesters want less tourists in Mallorca, which they don't say no tourists in Mallorca.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, you can't have it both ways.
I know.
If you're walking around with signs and scaring the hell out of me with throwing planes and things at me, no, I'm not coming.
And Femenia says that mass tourism is making it difficult for local people who cannot afford to live on their own island because tourist flats push up prices. Tourists fill up the beaches and put a strain on public services in the summer.
Listen, I am fully on board with the Disneyland. I think it's the only way. I don't see another way.
Yeah.
Just charge them. They'll pay, and then don't worry about your apartment.
Get a bunch of exchange students to go in there and play like, be like
reenactors. You're in Dubai. on an island that looks like a duck or a palm tree or whatever they. You could have an island shaped like anything. Clip art. You just send them clip art and they build an island. You know, one of those famous old things where they would do like a cutout of somebody's profile.
Oh, a silhouette. Or a silhouette,
you can send them one of those of your kid, and then you can have an island like that. And I'm not kidding. You really can.
They'll make it while you're there. You just give them sit down in a chair, and they're building the island for you.
You just sit on the tip of your son's nose while they build the rest of it.
But here's where it gets interesting. That on July 9th, there was an article called "Barcelona Protesters Throw Items and Spray Travelers with Water While Shouting Tourists Go Home."
That's what I saw. They had squirt guns. I saw that. Yeah. That's what I saw.
And so in Barcelona, people apparently clapped and chanted "Tourists Go Home" and carried signs and anti-tourist slogans. And they also sprayed tourists with water pistols.
Listen, I'm listening. I am not going. I don't want to be where I'm not wanted.
Yeah, it's, I was looking at the art and they had like footage of it, and I feel sorry for the tourists because the tourists are just,
they didn't know.
Individual tourists aren't bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's they don't know. They're just trying to have a nice trip.
That's right.
But then you have hundreds of people, protesters, coming up and spraying you, and they are all sitting at like an outdoor cafe in Barcelona. Yeah. First of all, who's going to sit people at the outdoors when there's a protest going on?
This is what we've always done with them. They sit in this cafe, then we put them on the tour bus. We take them over to Venice. Yeah.
It's awful. You'd see like people, like a guy with his girlfriend and like hundreds of people. And the thing is, people in Spain, they look amazing. They're always put together.
Oh my God.
Look like models.
Right.
And so you have all these models standing outside the
squirting you down.
Yeah, that's yelling at you to get out of there. You know what I mean?
People will start Instagramming that. It's going to work. I think it'll work. It works on me. Like, I am absolutely not going to Spain for the rest of my life over this article.
Yeah, when would you, like, if somebody says, like,
there's not one it's okay now that wants to do that.
Oh, it's okay now. They're okay. They they want you to come back, and there's like you get over there and they start spraying you.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I don't want to be here. Okay, done. Got it.
So Jack Guy in a CNN article says that, of course, visitors increase prices and put pressure on public services. And while profits from the tourism industry are unfairly distributed and increase social inequality.
Right.
So everybody's always like, they should be glad that they have all that tourism bucks coming in there. But it's like that tourism money's not trickling down to everybody.
Right. That's why, again, charge $100 per person to come into Majorca. They'll pay it, but that money has to go directly to, but it never will. It's like the lottery. Remember when the lottery was going to pay for our public schools?
Yeah. Everybody was going to get a piece of it. Everybody was going to piece of it.
Yeah.
So my question, John, is how did we get here? How did we go from me sitting at a, travel convention in Chicago looking at Tom Wopat with nobody stopping at my booth to suddenly now Italy is overrun with people?
I know. I don't know. We want the experience. We want, and there's just so many of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there was a time where we always thought that tourism was good. It was a way to get out and exchange ideas, see the world. People would, some sort of cultural exchange. People would understand each other better. And in the book, A History of Modern Tourism, Eric Zulo says that the story of tourism as we currently understand it is rooted in Europe. It was born of the Grand Tour. It expanded as a result of changing aesthetics generated by the Enlightenment. It grew largely as a product of the Industrial Revolution and new technological inventions. And military and economic dominance assured that Europeans could take their new pastime to every corner of the globe.
Right. Right.
And, in the 1700s, that's usually where people think that our modern idea of tourism comes from, was the Grand Tour. And that was where like rich guys from Northern Europe, usually England, like some lesser nobleman's son or something, would travel over to Europe for a couple of years and go on the Grand Tour, go see all the big sites. And the idea was that you wanted to end up in Rome. But on the Grand Tour, you were supposed to have a tutor going along with you.
Oh, so you'd learn, and this is how you graduate into,
Right. And
it's like, what are those two characters in Macbeth, or is it in Hamlet, who are like touring around? Oh,
Guildenstern,
Yeah,
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Maybe I have it wrong, but I thought they were sort of touring around too.
Well, this was like if you were a rich guy, you would send your son off to Europe.
That makes
and
sense.
He'd go off with all of his money, all of his bags and everything. He'd stay over there for a while,
right?
And he'd have a tutor to kind of explain everything.
Yeah,
and tutors were usually like failed writers or academic. It sounds like a job I would like.
Yeah, I know what I'd be doing.
That may be what we end up doing.
Hey, Guildenstern, look over here. Here's the Venus de Milo.
The two humans.
Was made by
the two humans tour. Will lead you across Italy.
Ooh,
that's what we should do.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. All right, I'm writing it down.
But I read where a lot of times the tutors themselves would end up just like drinking and
of course,
chasing women and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what everything devolves,
Yeah. And then the other thing was an invention was the railroad. And when the railroad came about in the early 1800s, up in like the 1840s, it became easier for people to travel, to take excursions outside of town.
Sure.
And some of the first ones that they did was Thomas Cook, which Thomas Cook Travel became like a big tour operator. But the original Thomas Cook back in the 1840s was a preacher who he started out like taking people on excursions out to temperance fairs.
Really?
Yes.
What a horrible tour. That's like a tour from hell.
It would be like a sobriety cruise. You get on there like, there's no.
Listen, I'm glad I'm sober, but the last thing I want to be is around a bunch of sober alcoholics. Oh,
that's the crew. Can you imagine that? Like a sobriety cruise where there's no booze on there. And it's like 24-hour-a-day meetings.
I'd rather be on the 80s cruise where everybody's drunk. I'd rather be there. I really would.
Yeah. But that's how Thomas Cook started out. And then he branched off and started taking people all over the place.
Jesus, Thomas. What were you thinking?
And then we had, there was such a thing called in the 30s called fascist tourism.
What?
In Italy, there was a program called Dopo Lavoro, which is like after work. And the idea was the government would organize outings and day tours and things for the people to kind of help them, their morality and their strength and their health and everything.
So brainwashing. Government brainwashing cruises.
I know. They said by 1937, Dopo Lavoro had sponsored some 50,000 foot marches, day outings, and tours, which sounds like
a foot march. Jesus,
sounds like a work camp. It sounds like a work camp.
Oh.
And then in World War II, of course, tourism and economies crashed because of the war.
Right.
And then after the war, they were trying, you've heard of the Marshall Plan, whereas like the United States was trying, because the United States was the one economy that hadn't been really destroyed by the war.
Right.
They were trying to help all these European economies back up after the war.
Right.
And so they came up with the Marshall Plan. And one of the main elements of the Marshall Plan was tourism. And Zullo talks about how what they thought was, that's a way to get Americans traveling to Europe to try to bring over that money and give money back into these destroyed European economies.
Interesting.
And then afterwards, hopefully when they go back after having enjoyed some of these Italian foods and products or European foods and products, then they'll ask for them when they get back home.
Yeah.
And then that would like increase exports.
Especially with all of, everybody's backgrounds, Irish, Italian, we're all, most of the population is from Europe.
Yeah. So it was all a way, tourism was a way to try to help Europe get back on its feet.
Always about money. That's why Europe needs to turn the tables on us and charge us to get back in.
Yeah. It's funny. I read, I think it was in Zulo's book where he talks about like, yeah, even though, people all said like, oh, it's great to get out there, that cultural exchange and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But really nobody denied that it was all the economics after World War II.
Right.
Was the real reason
Right.
for promoting for these big countries promoting tourism.
Right.
And I think that's when I came on was still part of that. It was before the Soviet Union had fallen at the late 80s, and when I came on, I think it was the tourism industry was still operating under that.
Mm-hmm.
Under
that
operating.
But it's changed. Boy, has it changed.
Yeah, because I think the economies are better, and also
overpopulation, too many people.
The big difference was people can book their own flights, their own hotels, and everything online. It's just so easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is. It's true.
Whereas before, you had to actually go into a travel agency or you had to call up the airlines. It's just people have more discretionary income. There's a global middle class now that's traveling. And you also have people can just book their own things. You know what I mean?
Now it's time to start sending people to the moon.
Yeah.
Going to the moon. The next Dubai is going to be on the moon. Where you can make a crater that looks like your sun, You can have, I don't know what though.
Paige McClanahan says the very idea of another world seems quaint. Unless you're seriously put off by war zones, human travelers have been and can go, if they have the money, just about everywhere, including the darkest depths of the ocean and the inner fringes of outer space, like you're talking about.
Yes. But when are we going to be miniaturized and explore our own bodies? Hey, how was vacation? Oh, it was great. I spent the first week just in my wife's optic nerve. It was so amazing. But she was cheating on me, and I could see it through her eyes.
No.
Horrible.
So anyway, John, I just want coming to a conclusion. I don't know where this is all going to go. I mean, it's definitely. I don't know. There's some pains here, some growing pains or something with all the people, but it still comes down to technology. Just like the train 150 years ago. Now it's the internet has made it easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have people just want to travel. I mean, they still want to travel. They want to go somewhere. But I always wonder, like, if you force out the locals in a place like Barcelona or a place like Venice or Florence. I have a friend a friend of Mary's who just went to Florence and said that the crowds were just, it was horrible.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'm like, if you force those people out, then what are you actually experiencing when you go visit Florence?
You know what I mean? Get your Instagram photo.
I know. I know, it becomes just buildings.
It becomes Westworld again, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I am about to go. I'm about to travel. I am driving my daughter's car from Los Angeles all the way across the country to upstate New York.
Wow.
And my son is coming with me.
Is he driving too? Are you switching off?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yep.
That'd be good.
And we're gonna be stopping in. Let's see. We're gonna be stopping. We're gonna Albuquerque. It's our first stop. Staying the night. Then we're going on to Kansas City, my hometown.
Right.
And then we'll be going on from there to Chicago, and then Chicago on in. And I'm gonna see this great land of ours.
Maybe I'll go with you. I'll be like Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, come on. We'll take everybody. I'll be Don DeLuise. All right. Well, this is human number 2 signing off.
And this is human number 1, John McCray. Thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this podcast and found it interesting, please tell a friend about it. I've started sending out, if you have an idea for a podcast episode, I've sent out some of our bracelets this week to the people who have sent in
That's great.
topic ideas.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you.
So just know we really do. If we say we're going to do it, we'll do it. It may take a while, but we'll do it.
We do it.
And don't forget to check out our sponsor, Watson & Company Socks, on Facebook. Good pair of traveling socks.
My son had my socks on last night. We were watching TV together, and I looked over and I think those are my socks.
Good socks.
God damn it!
You got to have good socks if you go traveling.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, guys, we love you. Thanks for listening. Get out there, see the world, but spread out a little bit.
Yeah, spread out. Or just stay home and play a video game.
All right, John. Love you. See you guys. Bon voyage.
Bon voyage.